now Kjaer and I are gonna take some time out just to talk about our key findings from the 2023-2024 Viva Engage Benchmarking Report. So it's our 9th annual Viva Engage Benchmarking Report. Honestly, again, like this Viva Engage Festival, just the wealth of information that you can get. So we'll give you a link, and we do have a QR code for you to download it as we go along. But I'm gonna hand over to Kjaer to do some talking, because you're probably sick of hearing me talk. Over to you, Kjaer.
No, well, I'm not, Gemma. I'm always fall in love with your wonderful British accent, and I wish I could somehow adopt that. I'm originally from Denmark myself, so I've got this sort of, other different accent. But anyway, the Viva Engage Benchmark Report we very recently published, I think it's only about a month ago, was the biggest one we've done yet, not the 9th one that we've done. So believe it or not, this is the 9th year we were analyzing Viva Engage, and we're up at 97 organizations, 23 million Viva Engage interactions. So it's a very substantial piece of work that our chief scientist, Dr. Lawrence Lockley, is doing the number crunching for. And then we are going out and talking to many organizations that are what we would call the high performing organizations. And we've covered nearly 5,000 communities in the report. So it's a pretty substantial piece of work. If you want to have a look at it, it's nearly 100 pages. So it'll be maybe good for over the upcoming break for you to sort of, get stuck into that. But let's go to the next slide. And
I'm on mute. So we're going to do a little poll here. So if you've read the benchmarking report, you'll know this. So what do you think is the average active participation rate on Viva Engage? So I'm just going to launch the poll. Hopefully you can see that. Is it working? Is technology going to fail me?
We can't see it yet. Oh, there it is.
Is it there? Yes.
It's there.
So from the benchmarking report this year, what do you think the average active participation rate on Viva Engage is? And remember, it is an average. So I think people have read the report, because it is 27%. So thank you for answering that.
Maybe we shouldn't put that option right in the middle there, but it's actually interesting, isn't it, that some of you had it as little as 9%. There's people, and then of course some that have more. But there's also been a little bit more ambitious in the report. If you download and read it, you'll see that the goal we're setting up is actually 36%, because we look at what can sort of the high achievers get to. So we think 36% is a reasonable goal. And also just on the on that whole sort of the 27%, it is of course means that there is still room for lots more people to participate. We know the readership of Viva Engage is much higher. It sits at about 85%. And undoubtedly, the integration of Viva Engage into the wider M365 suite of tools, in particular in Outlook and of course in Teams as well, have meant that a lot more people can consume the conversations on Viva Engage. But I think there's undoubtedly a big opportunity to get more people to I guess not just join the party, but get out on the dance floor as well.
Definitely. So I think this slide.
Yeah, go on,
sorry, I was just going to say this is why the last panel that we just had actually, because we're seeing this broadcasting. So over to you, Kjaer.
Yeah, it was just an interesting thing, because we look at metrics over time, and as I mentioned early on, this is the 9th year that we're doing the benchmarking report, and there were some numbers that were starting to drop a little bit. We saw at the beginning of the pandemic a great increase in the use of Viva Engage, but we've also now seen, and I think maybe this is because that before the pandemic, And maybe even when, I guess, in the very, very early days of what was then called AMER, it was probably more sort of viral adoption, less managed, less governed, you know, and there was a lot of conversations happening on the platform. During the pandemic, I think we saw great uptake of corporate communications teams to have a much closer look at Viva Engage, because it became a platform that was so essential for communication. And therefore, we have probably seen now a little bit more of this broadcast use of Viva Engage, just that the numbers of, I guess, of conversations are dropping a little bit. And maybe that's just, we mentioned that because I think when we ask people what they see the greatest benefit and the greatest value of Viva Engage is really as the conversation platform. So I think it's important as that we never lose track of that part of Viva Engage.
Kjaer, quickly, the question just come in within the time period. So this was 3 months, wasn't it? This was the benchmarking reports looks at a view of 3 months.
It's actually for benchmarking, we extend that to 6 months,
Okay.
and we picked a time where we could feel that the pandemic was sort of, you know, about to feel like it was coming to an end, I guess. Well, at least emotionally, it felt like that, and we saw a lot of this more where people were now shifting into more hybrid working. So that's, you know, it's more a little bit more like I guess we felt back to normal in a way.
Next slide. So I'm going to pick up this slide. So this looks at one of our most thriving communities. Now, the Home Depot's Measurement Services, the HDMS community, ranked number 4 in the SWOOP's Thriving Community benchmarking report this year, and they actually appeared last year as well. And I just also want to do a shout out that the Home Depot have 11 of the top 100 Viva Engage communities. So they do honestly, again, some incredible stuff with Viva Engage. So this community, Thriving Community, is all about helping customers. So if a customer comes into a store, they've got a question, an associate can go onto Viva Engage, they can ask a question, and then they've got 2 people, I think it's 2, isn't it, that just really drive this community. They answer questions, the associate can then feed that straight back to the customer, so giving great customer service. But it's just an incredible community, and you can actually find out more about this case study in the benchmarking report, but it is just pretty amazing, an amazing case study to read.
And we should also mention, of course, that Ty Collins, I hope you're on the call here today from the Home Depot, is available here also for you to sort of grill her asking about her experiences. What was really amazing, actually, with in one of the results from the benchmarking report this year was that a very large organization was ranked as the highest performing Viva Engage network. When we started with the benchmarking 9 years ago, we didn't really think much about size, and then after I think it was a year or 2, we found out, oh, actually, we should differentiate between small, medium, and large organizations, because we saw there were actually the smaller ones tend to be able to create more community, had stronger networks, higher adoption rates, and as organizations got larger, it became much harder to do that. So here in 2023-24, we were really surprised that a large organization, in the case it's organizations about 40,000 employees, managed to win the overall highest ranked organization. And it's a bank right here where I'm based in Australia called ANZ Bank. What's also incredible, and I think Darnell, you said that in your presentation, give Viva Engage time. Success doesn't happen overnight. And ANZ has been crawling up this league table for several years now. They started in 2019, as you can see on the slide here, and they crawled all the way up. And in 2023, they actually got there. And Shane Elliott, who is the CEO, was incredibly active in the, I guess you can call the early years of Viva Engage. But now it's become so embedded in the way that the organization works. that he has been allowed almost to take a little bit step back because it's such a strong part of the culture where it needed more stronger executive support in the beginning. So that's pretty amazing. And I think we have a particular slide about their, is that a separate slide, Gemma? Yeah, there we go. So Ryan is their adoption and communications lead at ANZ Bank, and we've had several case studies with Ryan and the team at ANZ Bank. If you are in financial services, it's really some case studies, and thank you, Coco, for putting the links in the chat. Fantastic stories to read. They presented at the Viva Engage Festival before, so go and check them out. This year, there was just so many inspiring stories about how they were using a Viva Engage. I'll just pick one example for you that I thought was particularly interesting. In banks, and I guess it applies to all of us, we are always at risk of cyber attacks, fraud, and everything else that's happening. So ANZ Bank actually do a lot of phishing campaigns for staff to help them be as agile as they can with cyber risks. And someone they were running a sort of one of those phishing campaigns, and then a staff member went and said, "Hey, there's a phishing campaign that's been run at the moment, and look out for emails and be careful." And someone said, "Oh, should you be posting about that on the AMER? Doesn't that sort of upset the whole exercise if people know about it?" But actually, that was deliberate because they want to remember staff that Viva Engage is the place that we come and share insights, things that are happening, things they see in the community, things for people to be aware of, all goes into Viva Engage. So it was actually the exact correct response to say, hey, be careful, something is happening. And it reflected their great knowledge and culture. So yeah, check out not just the report. Also, if you want to talk to the team at ANZ Bank, even though they're based all the way down here in Australia, they're absolutely lovely people, and are very happy to talk to anyone about how they're using Viva Engage. Lastly, I'll just very quickly cover the report that we put out looks at many different metrics, many different perspectives that we use to not just talk about how Viva Engage is evolving, but we also the criteria used to assess the organizations that we highlight in the benchmark reports and the top communities. This little chart here just shows the metrics that we've done really well in the last year, and some of the ones where we dropped off a little bit. And you can see that some of the ones that have dropped off a bit is in terms of how many engagers we have. So they're really the ones that sort of engage in conversations. The two-way relationships have dropped off a little bit. But where it's really gone ballistic, and we're not quite sure why, is the mentions part of it. That's when you tag someone, you mention someone in Viva Engage. And that, by the way, can I say to all of you, is a very effective, it's one of several very effective techniques of bringing people into conversation, is to mentioning them. It works particularly well in the post and can lead to 73% more replies if you do that well. So in the report, as I've mentioned several times, go and have a look not only at the different metrics described, but also how can you get better? What does normal look like? So if you wonder how many public posts should there be, what's normal with private posts, what's good look like? You can look at all those things in the report and get inspiration to how you can get better.
I think you've just covered this one about the app mentioning.
Yes.
And I think something else we found in the report as well is Coco and I will be covering it in the next section, a bit about personas, but we found responders are now quite high, aren't they? So the responders, I was always a responder, and I think it is linked to this app mentioning. So it's those helpful people that are helping to cultivate and bring people together on these communities. So just making sure nothing goes unanswered. If somebody is asking a question, they might not know the answer, but this is where they can app mention and bring people in. So I think that there's definitely a link there. I'll let you cover this slide.
Yeah, it was kind of, I said, it's probably something just for all of us to listen to the conversations that we've heard earlier today and the advice that's been given, because we would like, of course, there's an opportunity for more people to jump in. We've seen a little increase in the what we call the influencer risk score, and that tells us like how much you rely on a smaller group of people to keep your communities going. And we also saw a smaller drop in how often people ask questions. So there's a really big opportunity now for us to turn that trend around by really being inspired by the companies and people that are talking here at the Viva Engage Festival. What makes Viva Engage so special is that opportunity to ask questions, and we know that it leads to about, I think it's 150% more replies to a post when you ask a question. It has to be a real question though, not one of those, you know, sort of fake questions. So it is a very powerful technique that and Ed mentions.
Yeah. Do you want to cover this, or I can cover this slide? Yeah. So something that we actually put in the report is this maturity level. So we've included this year the content, conversations and outcomes. So I know some of you are very early on your Viva Engage journey, but actually if you can get to this solving and innovating pillar, the outcome section, then that's when you are doing something absolutely right in Viva Engage, and this is where the magic really happens. So it's all available in the benchmarking report. I'm just going to skip to the next slide because I just wanted to call out our Collaboration Champion Awards for America. So #1 this year for large organisation was the Home Depot Canada. Well done. Our medium organisation was a US publisher. They didn't want to be named, but they've done some tremendous and amazing things within the Viva Engage space. And then our small organisation was Real Foundation. So you can find, I think we've got like 9 different case studies around these organisations. So just take some time to read. And I think it just helps as well, just understand how other people are using Viva Engage internally, for you to just take some ideas or steal some ideas. So I'm just going to finish off. Was someone going to say? The Home Depot Canada, so another case study. So they use it to really promote appreciation and recognition. And so you can hear from David's post here that it's just an example of sharing the love within the Home Depot Canada. And actually by doing this, David's efforts have really paid off, as his district has actually does have above average scores in their annual employee surveys for celebrating successes and promoting formal use of recognition programs. So again, download the benchmarking report. So we're just going to pop up a QR code here where you can just find out so much more, but I would definitely encourage you to just have a look. It is at over 100 pages, so probably bedtime reading, but go to the case studies. If you have any questions at all on the benchmarking report, you can just reach out to either Coco or myself. You know, we'll happily answer any questions, but I do think it is just an amazing free download to take. And if you want to be part of the Viva Engage Benchmarking Report next year for free, just let us know and we'll enable that, because it's just nice to know where you are as well as a business. So I think I've just put the link in there.